Welcome back to the English Prep Podcast. Today we're doing a deep dive into something that, well, often trips people up in English assessments, those lecture-style questions. Think of this as your strategy session for really getting a handle on academic listening.
That's a great way to put it, because those lecture parts, they can feel like, just a huge wall of information coming at you, and you only hear it once. So, yeah, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Our plan today is to give you some really practical tools to tackle them more effectively.
And it's so worth focusing on, isn't it? Because these lecture questions, they often make up a really big chunk of your score. I mean, on some big tests, most of the listening points come right from these lecture bits.
Exactly. It's a huge factor. And beyond the test, the language, the structure,
Yeah.
it's very much like what you'll actually hear in, say, a university lecture if you study abroad. So these skills we're talking about, they're not just for the exam, they're building blocks for, future academic success.
Totally agree. And the questions themselves test so many different things, right? Like the main idea, specific details.
Yeah, or how it's organized, what the speaker implies, all sorts of things.
So if you can nail these lecture sections, you're pretty much set for a lot of the listening challenges.
Absolutely. Now, to really tackle these effectively, it helps to understand the kinds of questions they actually ask. There are about 7 main categories, generally speaking. Knowing what you're up against,
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Break those down for us. What should we be ready for?
All right, so you've got your main idea or just purpose questions, basically. What was the lecture about? Then there are detail questions asking about specific facts or examples mentioned.
Okay.
Inference questions are next. What did the speaker imply but not say directly? Function questions ask why the speaker said something specific, like, was it an example, a contrast?
Okay.
Attitude questions get at the speaker's tone or certainty. Organization questions are about the lecture's structure. And finally, you might get categorizing or connecting content questions where you have to, group ideas or link information together.
Wow, okay. That's quite a range. It sounds like how you listen, and especially how you take notes, needs to kind of shift depending on the question type.
Precisely. You hit the nail on the head. For a main idea question, you need that big picture view. But for a detail question, you need to have caught those specific little facts. And that brings us to note-taking. Having a good system is absolutely key.
You mentioned one earlier, MAP to GAPS. Sounds interesting. How does that work?
Yeah, MAP, GAPS. It's a structured approach, basically. The goal is to grab the important stuff without, trying to write down every single word, because that's just impossible, right?
But you just fall behind.
Exactly. So imagine splitting your page into 2 columns. The left side is the MAP. MAPM is for margin. A is for anchor. P is for point.
Okay, margin, anchor, point. Let's unpack that. Margin.
Margin is for super brief topic labels, 1 or 2 words. As the topic shifts in the lecture, you jot down a new label. It's like a mini outline on the fly.
Got it, like section headings.
Pretty much. Then anchor, that's where you write the key terms, the main concepts for that section.
Okay.
And point is just a very short summary of the main idea of that specific part of the lecture. So this MAP column gives you the skeleton, the basic structure of the whole thing, helps your brain organize it.
Makes sense. A framework on the left. So the right column, GAPS.
Right, GAPS. GAPS. This is for the details that flesh out the MAP points. G is for graphs or stats, any numbers, data the speaker mentions.
Okay.
A is for authorities, names of experts, research sources cited. P is for processes, steps in a sequence, how something works.
Right.
And S is for surprises. Anything unexpected, interesting, or just, a really notable detail that jumps out. These usually go as bullet points linked to the relevant MAP entry on the left.
I can really see how that organizes everything. So how does using MAP, APS help with those different question types we talked about?
Well, it maps pretty directly, actually. For main idea questions, stand your anchors and points in the MAP column. That gives you the overview. For detail questions, look in the GAPS column. Numbers, names, stats, they'll likely be there. Organization questions. The order of your MAP notes often reflects the lecture's flow. First, second, then.
Right, you've already captured the structure.
Exactly. Even for function or attitude, if you noted a surprise in GAPS because the speaker sounded emphatic about a statistic, that's a clue.
That's clever, capturing those subtle things too. And abbreviations, you mentioned them, totally essential for speed, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely crucial. You have to develop your own shorthand, info for information, guff for government, symbols like arrows for increase, decrease. The more you practice, the faster you get. Using indentation helps too, visually separating main MAP points from the GAPS details.
Okay, solid note-taking strategy. But what about just, staying focused during a potentially long, dense lecture? How do we actively listen?
Great question. Active listening techniques are vital. One thing is previewing the prompt, if possible. If you see the lecture title beforehand, like Causes of Climate Change, spend a second thinking. What might they cover? Greenhouse gases.
Yeah.
Deforestation. It primes your brain.
Yeah, it gets you in the zone. What else can we do while it's playing?
Try doing quick 3-second summaries in your head. Every, say, 30 seconds or so, mentally recap the last point in one sentence. If you can't, maybe you drifted off. It's a quick check-in.
Good self-monitoring trick.
Another one is mental snapshots. Try to visualize abstract ideas or data. If they're talking about, I don't know, economic trends, picture a line graph in your head. It makes it stickier.
Making it visual, I like that. What about listening for specific things?
Definitely listen for signal words. Things like, however, therefore. In contrast, importantly, these are signposts. They flag key ideas or shifts. Maybe underline them in your notes.
Good tip.
And monitor intonation. Changes in the speaker's voice, pitch, or pace often signal something important, a definition, a conclusion, emphasis. Little arrows in your notes can capture that.
Fantastic tips for staying tuned in. Now, something that worries a lot of learners, accents. English sounds so different around the world.
It's a totally fair concern. Tests often use various accents, British, Australian, American, etc. The best defense is familiarity. Try to listen to academic stuff podcasts, lectures online from different English-speaking places regularly. Even short clips help train your ear.
Exposure is key. And you mentioned something called shadow reading.
Yes. Shadow reading is great. You listen to a short phrase or sentence, pause, then repeat it out loud, trying to mimic the speaker's pronunciation, rhythm, everything. It really helps tune your ear to different sounds and rhythms. Good for comprehension and speaking, actually.
Okay, brilliant. So, fast forward, we're in the test, lecture's done, notes are taken. Now we face the questions, time pressure, stress. Any tips for that phase?
Yeah, time is tight, usually 30-35 seconds per question. First rule, glance at your notes before you look at the answer choices. Your notes are your guide.
Right. Trust the notes.
Then try the answer elimination loop. Read the options. Immediately try to knock out 2 that are clearly wrong based on your notes or understanding. Choosing between 2 is much easier and less stressful than choosing between 4.
That's very practical. Narrows it down fast. What about managing the stress itself?
Simple but effective. Take micro breaths. After each audio or each question, just one slow, deep breath. Close your eyes for a second. It helps reset and refocus. And a really basic but crucial one, check your headset volume during the sample clip at the start. Don't wait for the real lecture to find out it's too loud or too quiet.
Oh, yeah, good point. Get it right from the beginning. Okay, thinking about common mistakes. What traps do people often fall into with these questions?
The biggest one is probably trying to write everything down. Verbatim transcription. You just can't keep up. You miss the bigger picture. You miss transitions. It's counterproductive.
So the MAP AGPS system helps avoid that.
Exactly. Trust the system, use abbreviations. Another common error is answering just from memory, not checking notes. Memory plays tricks under pressure. Always glance back at your notes.
Good reminder. Any other pitfalls?
Sometimes people ignore the little back and forths between the professor and students if they happen. Those often have clues about function or attitude. Maybe mark them in your notes with a star or something.
Ah, okay. Don't dismiss the dialogue.
Right. And finally, try not to second-guess yourself endlessly. Make your best choice based on the evidence in your notes and move on. Wasting time agonizing usually doesn't help.
Trust your preparation and your system. Makes sense. So for listeners wanting to really work on this, could you maybe suggest a structured way to practice, like a study plan?
Sure. A 4-week approach could work well. Week 1. Focus just on understanding those 7 question types. Find examples. Analyze transcripts. Know your enemy.
Okay. Week 1, know the questions.
Week 2, drill the MAP APS note-taking. Practice on, say, 10 different lectures. Get comfortable with your shorthand, the 2 columns.
Week 2, master the notes.
Week 3, work on timing and stamina. Do full listening sections under timed conditions. Review your mistakes carefully. Why did you get it wrong?
Week 3, timing and endurance.
Week 4, take full mock tests, official ones if possible. Simulate the real thing. Then analyze your weaknesses and do targeted practice on those specific areas or question types.
That sounds like a really solid, manageable plan.
Yeah.
You also had a tip about recording yourself, summarizing.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. After listening and taking notes, try summarizing the lecture out loud in about 60 seconds. Record it. Listening back often reveals gaps in your own understanding you didn't realize were there. It's quite insightful.
Great self-assessment tool. And looking beyond the test for long-term skill building.
Keep listening. Use platforms like Coursera, ADX, tons of free academic lectures there. Listen to different subjects, science, arts, whatever, to expand vocabulary. And maybe find study partners, discussing lectures, creating questions for each other. That really deepens understanding.
Fantastic resources and ideas. So really, the takeaway seems to be that it's not about magic or perfect memory.
Not at all. It's about strategy, effective listening, systematic note-taking, smart test-taking habits.
By using things like MAP, GAPS, active listening, managing time, you can really turn these lectures into a chance to show what you know.
Absolutely. They shift from being intimidating to being, well, manageable challenges you're prepared for.
So, for all of you listening, the challenge now is to start putting these ideas into practice. Don't wait. Think about it. What's one specific strategy we talked about today that you could try implementing this week in your own English study? Maybe start small, but start now.